Okay. Welcome back to Dr. Stone Anime Review, episode number 5. This will be the 25th episode of the anime, which covers the last 5 pages of chapter 60 and goes through pretty much the entirety of chapter 61. Yep, now, yes, it has been 5 months since I did the review for this series, for good reason. Now, you're probably thinking, Nick, why didn't you review any new chapters? Well, I knew the anime was going to get to it, so why not? And plus, I had a bunch of other stuff to review, and I didn't need to review every single freaking manga that comes out. So, I still read the Dr. Stone manga. Yes, I read it. I may not review it, but I do read it. And right now, they're on the South America arc, the place where basically all this stuff started with. Now, with this episode, we're still in the communications arc. Yep, we're still in the communications arc, and with basically getting up to chapter 61, you have exactly 21 chapters left. Yep, 21. Which means, presumably, we might have, and this is my personal theory, we might have a lot of the season covering this one arc. Yep. Now, yes, it has been a couple years since the last season aired for the series, but I think, in my honest opinion, that was the perfect amount of time, basically, for time to pass before it in their season. Unlike My Hero, we could do it like the following year, though they might get closer and closer to catching the manga. This one basically makes sense to do. And still the same studio, thank you for that. Now, mostly put the first 5 minutes of this episode is a very somewhat loose recap of the first season of the series. Well, mostly puts a recap of Sengoku and Tatsuma, the main villain of the first portion of the series, which I do appreciate they have Gin basically. Well, he's recapping this, which makes sense, because I'm sure a lot of people may have forgotten exactly what the heck happened in this series. I mean, it's been 2 years, so people might not remember, unless, of course, they go back and rewatch the anime. Now, aside from recapping, basically, we also have Gin, basically, he's basically recapping some of the stuff that Sengoku basically did, some of the stuff that happened in the previous season to a bunch of children, while they're trying to prepare some devices, preparing for what's going to happen next. So after finish wrapping up the devices, they pretty much come with the idea of basically transporting the cell phone over to the Konosuba Empire. They can basically figure a way to get over there. So we have Sengoku basically, Senku, where he's basically looking at the sky in his telescope, and of course, basically again, where they talk for a bit, where they talk basically how we're going to fool them. Like, we got to basically fight them. We're not killing them. So how you going to do that? Do a bloodless battle. And of course, they have this mention about the diva Lillian. Yes, Lily Warren. She's an American. And they actually have her music playing in the background, basically on this this green glass disc that she recorded apparently some songs for, and apparently the kids love it. And so they're like, okay, let's use the voice to basically fool people. And apparently the mentalist can actually pull up doing other voices, basically show up that he can do Lillian's voice. And I like basically Sengoku's reaction when he hears her voice, and he basically spits up whatever he's drinking, which doesn't happen in the manga. Which, you got one thing I love about Dr. Stone is the humor. It is so good. Mm-hmm. And while they're talking, we have Chrome, who's on the second floor of Sengoku's science tower. Well, you could call it an observatory. That's basically what it is. He overhears this and then sticks his head right through the floorboards. literally, doing a conversation. So it's like, okay, I'll basically transport the thing over there because they don't know me, but he does know you. Now, before I continue here, I should point out that this is all subbed. And we have Gin referred to a lot of the characters by Chen. So, I'm like, okay. Now, why would he... Now, this is probably how he does things. I'm not going to criticize Gin. At least he doesn't call me old man Chen. Yeah, at least he doesn't do that. So, Senku comes with the interesting idea to make, get this, cup of instant ramen. Yes. Basically calling it space food. Well, basically, yeah. where he freezes it and then he puts some water in it, cooks it and basically he puts hot water over it, and voila, you have a cup of instant noodles, and everybody loves it. Though here's the thing: in this world, their noodles are basically green compared to the noodles we have here, which are basically very white flavored. And they probably don't have the actual stuff to make the noodles, but they use some grass basically in the area to make this. They mentioned this last season, so at least they have basically something they introduced last season, introduced this season. Yep. So they come up with a way to transport a thing over to the Tensacola Empire. Of course, they mention his friends, where they think like they're like this, even though that they're completely different. We mentioned his best friend basically is an oaf, which, yeah, that's indeed true. Doesn't talk much about the woman he loves. Nope, doesn't talk about her at all. So it's gonna be quite interesting when they get a chance to meet. And don't worry, they do meet. So we have 3 teams. Basically, we have Chrome, Magma, and Geen basically as a team. But there's a scout. We need a distractor. So bombs. Yes, makeshift bombs to distract her in order to basically allow them to slip right past her in order to transport the cell phone. And it works. Yep. And that's where the episode ends. It's a pretty good episode. And, well, if you love the series, you definitely check it out. Yep. So, yeah, that's it for this particular review. Yeah, basically what I just discussed, that's pretty much the episode itself. It's all literally happened. We're just progressing the communications arc, which I'm a little curious, like, how much longer is this arc going to last for? That's a very good question. If you're curious, though, exactly how far the manga is ahead of where this episode leaves off with, getting to chapter 61, they are exactly 100 and, as of currently, 19 chapters ahead of the anime. He has 119 chapters. So, excuse me. The obvious question is, how far will the season go? And honestly, that's a really good question. Because the last season only covered the first few arcs, the first 6 arcs in just 19 episodes, covered 50 chapters in 6 episodes. Who knows exactly how long it's going to take to cover roughly a 32 chapter arc? I mean, they've already covered the first 11 chapters, and they've got roughly 21 chapters left. Could be possible they could finish up pretty soon. It's possible. How far do I think they'll get with it? Well, I think they probably finish the communications arc this season. And they may go as far, and this is my honest opinion, I think they go as far as maybe chapter 100. That's as far as I think they'll go with it. It's basically covered 2 arcs this season. It's not like the first season where they covered roughly 6. I think it's limited to just 2. Now you're probably thinking, why would I think that? Why would I think they only cover just 2 arcs? Basically, in a way that's roughly about 40 chapters. Well, because there's not a lot of arcs per se. I mean, aside from these, after this arc, there's only there's 4 arcs that come right after this one. Yeah, there's only 4. So, I think that the Age of Exploration arc will probably be the next one after this one. And that'll probably be it for the season. That's just my personal theory. Now, how long will the season last for? Well, the first season lasted for 24 episodes. Do I think that the season will last for 24 episodes? Season 2, Stone Wars? There's a good possibility it could. It's possible. It could be they could wrap up this arc in probably the first 10 episodes, I'd say. Yeah, I do think so. I think this arc probably finished up by episode 10 or 11. It might take up close to the first half of the season, and the second half probably cover Age of Exploration, which is roughly 18 chapters. Yes. And they might start the Treasure Island arc, which this one's 38 chapters. This is the longest arc of the entire series so far. Treasure Island, which is 38. New America arc, that's roughly 31. The current arc is, as of currently, it's only 11 chapters in. They just started this arc just a few months ago, so, yeah. Will I get a chance to review manga for this series? I don't know, I haven't decided yet. It's possible, okay? So yeah, so that's episode of you. Stay tuned for next review of the newest episode of Yoshima Half Demon Princess. Yes, I'm hoping I get a chance to do this, and I think I probably will, along with presumably doing newest episode of Fire Force. I might not get to doing Quintessential Guitar today. I might end up saving that for tomorrow. It's possible. I mean, tomorrow is only like just one show, and that's it. Yep. See you next video. Bye.